Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum friends and subscribers. This is Mahmoud Sheikh, and from past few videos I am working on a tutorial series of developing a CRUD application using AngularJS, AJAX, PHP, MySQL and Bootstrap. In my last video I showed you how to add a blog post, or how I have completed the functionality of adding a blog post into a database using AngularJS, and in this video I'll be showing you how to view any single blog post. Okay, if I have you can see inside my home page I have a table with a view button and a delete, and if I click on this view button it should display me the this blog post, single blog post in a full description view. Okay, I'll just go to my another application, AngularJS app. Okay, now you can see if I click on this view button, now it will taking me to a different page where it will displaying the selected post in a full description will be displayed in this page of that particular post. And here in this URL you can see the URL is post/8 or the post ID. Okay. Here if you see at this position, if I hover on each and every view or post, you can see 8 post/8, and posts here for this it will be post/7, for this it will be post/6. Okay, like this. What I will do, whenever I click any of the single post, our URL should be look like this, /post/add. Okay, so this URL we need to set inside our app.js. Inside this routing, we need to create another route with the name /post/id. Okay, so that we need to take care now. We need to create a route so that whenever a user click on this view button, then we should take them to a route which is post/that post id. Okay, for that we need to go to our editor, and first we need to create our view. So I have created a view.html file, and in that I will just paste this code. I will copy post.html content and I will paste here. From here I will delete this table. Okay, and then let's make it as view post. Okay, and now we need to go to app.js, and we need to copy this your routing, and then we need to paste it here, and we need to change it as post, because I want here I shown you the URL. Whenever I click on this button, our URL should get changed to post/that id. Okay, so we have to make it as /post/:id. Okay, here we will be passing the id. Whichever post is selected, that id will get sent with the get method to and that id will get accessed using get method into our controller. Okay, so okay, let's see here. And now we need to change it as view.html, and let's make it as view controller. Okay, now we need to create a controller with the name called as view controller. So let's copy this code and paste it here, and copy this view controller and paste it here, which is the name of our controller. And here we need to pass another dependency injection, which is route params. Okay, and then everything will be same, but this we need to change to our the Restful Webservice API get post. Okay, now we need to create this web service with the name called as get post, and then we need to change this HTTP. Okay, let's just create it from the beginning. Okay, now HTTP, and then URL will be this complete URL. Copy this and paste it here and change it to get post. Okay, then params id colon, and then we need to pass this root params dot id. Okay, so with this root params I am referring the id which has been passed whenever a user click on this view. So whenever a user click on this view button, an id will be passed to this URL, and from this URL I'm taking that id and passing here with the passing to this params with the help of this root params. Okay, now comma and method is get. We are using a get method here. Now dot then and function. Okay, and semicolon, and it will return a response. Okay, and we need to display, we need to get that response with the help of our scope object dot posts equals to response dot data. Okay, so this response will be holding the data that has been returned from our web service, which is this, and that data will get passed to our post property of our scope object, and with the help of this post property we'll be displaying our model into our view. Okay, now let's create our get post web service API. So come here inside web services folder, right click on it, and then click on new file, and then type in PHP opening and closing tag. Save it with the name called as get post dot php. Okay, now let's include the file include once and config.php. Okay, so first we need to get an id. $id equals to $_ get. We need to get the id from the URL id. Okay, next we need to check for the emptiness. If this id is not empty, that means if user has supplied the id $id, if this id variable is not empty, or that means this id is having any value, at that time $sql equals to select star from our tbl posts where id equals to $id. Okay, I'm selecting the entire data from the table tbl post where id is equals to the id of this. Okay, where id is equals to this id. I'm getting this id from the URL using $_get method and storing inside this variable $id, and here I'm checking for the emptiness whether this id is holding any value or not. If this id is not empty, then I'm writing down a query, where in that query I'm setting this id inside where clause where I'm saying as select everything from the tbl post where id is equals to this id. Okay, now $query equals to, and we need to use our connection object which we have created and stored inside our database configuration file, which is this $connect con. Okay, with the help of this object $con query, and we need to pass this SQL. Okay, and then we need to write another if condition where I'll be checking whether this query is returning any value or returning any data to me or not. So just copy, paste $query of num rows is greater than 0. Okay, here I'm checking whether this query object is returning any data from the database or not, or whether here I'm selecting the data, and here I'm checking whether database or table TBL post is having any data or not. If it is having any data, that means it will return any data. If this query has returned some data from the database, then I'm counting whether I'm having the count that is returned from the database is greater than or 0 or not. So if it is greater than 0, that means I am having the records with me, that is I am having the records in my database. Then I will iterate to those records until I get the last row in those records. So $row equals to $query of fetch array. Okay, I will pass fetch array. So if I got any records from the database, if I found any records in the database in the table TBL post, then I'll be iterating over those records using a while loop until I reach to the last record in the database. Okay. Then I will store the data inside store ID. I will store the ID information inside this ID variable. So whenever I get the data from the database, I store that data inside this row variable, and from that row variable I'm taking individual field from the records and storing into each and every variables. Then title equals to this, copy paste, copy this, paste it here, copy again. Okay, and then description, copy this and paste here, and then published on, copy and paste here. And now I will create a variable with a name called as a result, and make an array. Okay, then okay, I will pass all this information into this array. Okay, here ID, title, and description, and at the end or published on. I'll just copy this, paste here, copy, paste here, then and at the end published on. Okay, I have stored all the information that I have got from the database, from the records from my database table TBL post, and I have stored that data inside my array variable result. Okay, and then just write JSON equals to, I will pass this variable to this, and inside this else condition we'll write equals to array and status of 0, comma, and message as user. Okay, user ID, not our not found. Okay, let's say not found, and at the end we need to close our MySQL connection. Okay, and we need to set a header for our displaying our data in the form of JSON format. Content type application by JSON, and then echo JSON encode. Okay, now we have created our RESTful web service API to get an individual post information from our database table TPL posts. Okay, now let's test our web service. So I will just go to my app.js, and what I will do, I will just select this URL, and I will go to browser, and I will paste this URL here, and this URL I will pass an ID as 1. Okay, let's see what it will return to us. Okay, warning, JSON encode expects at least one parameter. Okay, in the line 22. Okay, get post 22. Okay, sorry, I just forgot to add this JSON to this. Okay, JSON encode. We need to encode the information that has been returned from the database in the form of JSON. So now let's refresh again. Okay, now you can see it has returned us the information of blog post 1. If I change it to 2, it's returning the blog 2 post in the JSON format. If I make it as 3, it's returning me the third post from the database in the form of JSON. Okay, so this is our RESTful web service API that we have done with the PHP, and it has returned us the data in the form of JSON. And now we need to parse this JSON data in order to display in our application here. Okay, so whenever I click on this link button, it should display this blog post in full detail. Okay, so for that we need to go to our editor, and then let's go to our post.html, and here we need to type post slash, and we need to pass an ID. Okay, now if I hover on this view button, you can see at this portion, if I hover on the view button, you will see some details here. Okay, see, now I'm keeping the mouse cursor on my view button. You can see 127.0.0.1 slash AngularJS CRUD slash hash slash here. Okay, in this place you will see some information. So AngularJS CRUD slash hash slash. Okay, we have not set an ID for this blog post. Okay, so right now we will do slash post slash, and then we will use this, copy and make it as ID. Okay, now we are setting the ID for that particular post, and now I will refresh, and now if I put a cursor on this view button, now you can see an ID is displaying on the left bottom side of your window. Here on this side you can see, if I hover on this button, I will get a ID as slash post slash add, see slash post slash 7, then slash post slash 6. Okay, so now if I click on this view, you can see nothing is displaying here, because we have moved to a different page which is our view. This is our view page. I'm displaying this view page. Whenever I click on any of the blog post, I'll be redirected to my view page, but the information is not displayed because I have not whatever data I am passing to this posts property of scope object, we have not used that object inside our view. So let's use it now. Okay, so inside here, let's field set. Okay, then create an h4 tag and use the posts dot title. Okay, this one post, I'm having a post property, and this post property is having contains the information, all this information, and we need to access this information by the keys id, title and description. Okay, so here, okay, post dot title, and then I will use a p tag. Okay, then copy this, and description, and then another p tag. Okay, then published on. Okay, let's copy posts dot published on. Okay, now let's save it and go to our application and refresh. Okay, now it's not displaying. Let's click on inspect. Okay, let's see here, console.log. Let's pass this entire data to our console. Okay, now let's refresh. Okay, okay, let's just see. Let's clear the cache first. Okay, now let's see, post.title, post.description, post.published on. Okay, now let's save it. Let's come to our app.js, our view controller, and we are setting our path, our web service, RESTful APIs web service path. Then okay, then now let's refresh the page and click on this post. Okay, now it's displaying me the content or the information of that post. If I click on back, I will be redirected to the first page. If I click on any of the other page, it's showing me the information of that particular post. Okay, so now this is how we can display the content or the information of that particular post in AngularJS. Okay, so this is how we can create a RESTful Web Service API to get a detail of any individual record or any individual blog post and display it on our view with the help of our scope objects properties. Yeah, here I had mentioned here. Okay, so now let's just go here, right click on inspect, and now you can see here inside console I had used console.log, and inside that console.log I had passed the scope property of my controller, view controller, and then by doing that it's returning the object or the information of that singular post in our console. So you can see here. Okay, so this is a very good nice tool, console.log, to debug our application, to find out what's getting wrong in our application. Okay, so now let's delete this, refresh the page. Okay, let's go to home and click any of the other blog post, and that information will be displayed in different page in detail of that particular post. Okay, so this is how we can create a functionality of viewing an individual blog post using AngularJS and RESTful Web Service APIs. Okay, so we are now we are left with our delete functionality, which we will be going to discuss in our next movie. So I hope you like this video. I hope you guys got some useful information out of this video. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, click on the like button, share it with your friends. I'll see you guys in my next video, where I'll be discussing about deleting a blog post. Okay, so thanks for watching.